August 27, 1859, Pennsylvania. After more than a year of drilling, America's first oil well pays off. Using crude tools with bare hands and broad shoulders, men risked life and limb, assembling the over 69 feet of pipe it took to reach a fuel that at the time was meant to replace whale oil. The first ever oil rush was on. In Pennsylvania, Texas, and Oklahoma, platforms and rigs were going up everywhere. More drilling meant more men, more sweat, more pipe, and more risk. The word automation wouldn't exist for another 100 years.
If you go back way the days of, some of the first wells, it was identified that, pipe would be needed.
There wouldn't be any controls, hydraulics, or anything to power those. So you powered it with manual labor.
You could join the sections by a bunch of different means, but one of the most efficient means was, kind of the nut and bolt, where you screw two sections of pipe together.
Very labor intensive, but very dangerous.
The turn of the century brought with it the Industrial Revolution and greater demand for oil. And in 1921, as a young Frank Mosing plows fields in Oklahoma, engineer Augustus Hammer files the first patent for a mechanized tong for drilling.
That gave way to a tong, a wrench, something that can screw these connections together faster with a high degree of torque.
October 1929, Black Tuesday. The stock market plunges, banks close, and soon the Great Depression begins, and the demand for oil drops. It was a time of economic decline all over the world. Work was scarce. Breadlines formed. With demand down and little incentive to drill new wells, the tools of the oil drilling trade remained primarily unchanged. Among those, the tong, the most significant risk to the profit and performance of a well and the safety of its workers. 1938. The Great Depression ends. A world war looms, and to meet the increased demand for oil to fuel its ships and machines, a new business begins in a humble home in Lafayette, Louisiana. A company that will change the oil industry forever. As the Depression lifted and oil demand soared, new fields and rigs sprouted across the landscape. Seizing the moment, Frank and Jesse Mosing invested their life savings to establish Frank's Casing Crew, later to become known as Frank's International. With unmatched talent for innovation, Frank designed and delivered drilling tools from his garage that improved effectiveness, efficiency, and worker safety on oil rigs, advances that would help the nation mobilize for World War II.
I would like to go back to where we all started.
Back then, it was pretty much having to explain everything from scratch for every implementation.
So I had the pleasure of meeting Mr. Donald Mosing, and I think it's safe to say that, he and his dad, Frank Mosing, they had instilled a culture.
Since then, it's been a pretty wild journey on the development of tongs and a lot of breakthroughs.
Our company was and still is deeply rooted in innovation and technology.
Some of our first tongs, 7 5/8 and 10 3/4, they were just retired from service after more than 45 years.
As the war ended, oil demand continued its steady climb. A new era of mechanization dawned on the rigs. Franks embraced this revolution by innovating their own mechanized tongs, advancing the industry's transformation of dangerous manual pipe handling into safer, more efficient operations.
So years back, Frank sent his son Donald to the university to become a mechanical engineer.
Mr. Donald Mosing, one of Frank's oldest sons, eventually CEO, he kind of just kept questioning, there's got to be a better way. Each tong had weaknesses, but each tong had strengths. And so as tongs developed from a manual tong to a power tong, the power tong became focused. And Mr. Donald set out with the engineering group then to say, look, I want to eliminate all the weaknesses, capture all the strengths, and let's design and build a tong system that encapsulate all those strengths.
That really set the tone for our innovation strategy that we currently still have, our technology roadmaps that we still utilize, the processes and the thought process today.
We had a foresight of where the industry was going, how it was trending.
And that's really the big thing about Frank's. From the early days, we knew the importance of engineers designing things and not just simply buying equipment.
The days of the chain tongs and bull tongs are almost essentially non-existent anymore. Looking at some of the milestones, first, it was the development of a power tong that's the most reliable power tong in the industry.
Looking at the technology and how much it's penetrated into the pieces of equipment, it seems like we have systems that are more scalable, both on the software and the hardware side.
Ultra deep water market was really taking off. We saw that the wells were getting a lot deeper, the casing was getting a lot heavier, and we identified an area of opportunity where we're going to need some more robust equipment than what's currently available anywhere on the market.
As we break new frontiers of exploration and extraction of oil and gas, it became ever increasingly more complex, and such that you start seeing connections that are more robust, but also require a lot more torque to make up. Well, we started developing tongs that had the highest torque capacities in the industry.
We deployed the first 1,250-ton casing handling equipment that was ever in the industry, and we actually did so before there was a rig that can handle 1,250 tons. So we had the equipment. Again, the mantra was have it waiting, so when the industry needs it, we're the first ones there to deploy it, and that's what we did.
Early, I would say 2002, 2004 era, we had a foresight of where the industry was going, how it was trending, more mechanization, more automation.
The difference with automation and remote control is that with remote control, you always have a human who's deciding something's going to happen.
I guess one of the biggest things is you have a very repetitive process where you install pipe or remove pipe from a well. And so repetition brings in the question of mechanization, automation. Can we do this in a much more repeatable fashion? Can we do it in a much more safer fashion?
We had our first automated tong as far back as 2002. Back then, the industry really wasn't ready for automation. It's not something that was commonplace, and it was really a technical success, but people weren't ready to accept it and trust it.
Our industry has historically been fairly risk adverse. In a risk adverse type of environment, you introduce something like that, sometimes you realize you might have really swung and hit the fence, and it kind of almost scares people. And that's exactly what happened.
We eventually just kind of shelved it and went back to doing what the industry valued, the most. At the end of the day, it's the customer's going to, ask and expect what they generally value. So at that point, it wasn't an automated technology.
In 1973, Exploration and Production Services, becoming known as EXPRO, emerged as a world specialist in well testing and wireline services. Leveraging technology to advance well construction, intervention, and integrity, along with well flow management and subsea well access. For decades, Frank's and EXPRO advanced along parallel paths. Frank's excelling in tubular running services and well construction, while EXPRO mastered well flow management and optimization. In 2021, the complementary strengths of EXPRO and Frank's International merged to create the new EXPRO, a comprehensive energy services leader that could support customers through every phase of the well life cycle. The joining of the two most innovative brands in the energy industry marked a turning point, not only for Frank's and EXPRO, but for those seeking safer, more effective and efficient ways to produce the energy the world needs from wherever it may be.
We're sharing knowledge of what's been a success within each of those original companies, and now we can use that to formulate what success looks like as we go forward as a new entity.
So a lot of places where EXPRO was really strong, Frank's wasn't necessarily as strong, and vice versa. So giving us access to those countries and those markets where EXPRO already had a presence really helped us push out new technology and push out new products into those regions and really expand our presence.
EXPRO's side of things was working on this part of the well, this part of the well, and this part of the well. Frank's part of the system, in the same lifespan of the well, was dealing with this part and this part. So they weren't so much any competing or any common knowledge of what they did that we could learn or vice versa. It was that each company brought their own components to the complete life cycle of the well.
I think we complemented each other very well with best practices, ideas, technologies on what is possible. And I think that just further, grew our company almost overnight, because it just made us more open-minded and more excited to see what's out there and what's being done that we can all adapt to and take on and utilize and share as we move forward as one company.
The merger of both companies certainly has added depth to the teams within the office environment, bringing that knowledge from each part of the business that we've had in the past. We see that now, the collaboration we've got, the way that we're developing to use the knowledge of what worked best for everybody and really forge a path into the future.
Actually, since we merged with EXPRO, we have a newer community of end users that are using our equipment. So fielding a lot of those questions helps us, giving us sort of a fresh look on things we've done in the past.
Back before the merger, we were predominantly a well construction company, and we wanted to see, as you look down further to the right, the life of the well, if the well matures, you look at what technologies are being done, what complementary things are being done in those aspects of well intervention, subsea access, production solutions. So when the merger occurred, that's exactly what happened. It opens your eyes up to a whole new set of thinking, a whole new set of ideas, a whole new set of best practices.
The numerous patents, engineering designs, and development innovations made to the Tong were a key motivating element for the merger, necessary to help the industry keep pace with high demand.
So as far as the culture of innovation at Frank's, definitely we were a bunch of mechanical engineers that were always thinking outside the box.
We started putting, backup wrenches underneath power tongs that can hold backup, so we didn't have to have these big cables all over the rig floor.
In the 60s and 70s, I think the process of drilling a well was probably still fairly new, at least in the deep water side of things.
Frank's was a company that really pushed the envelope of what was possible and what could be done. And you still see that now that we're EXPRO.
You'll hear the term paper napkin ideas, and some of our best ideas were scribbled down on a paper napkin.
Well, certainly Frank's was a pioneer in the development of power tong systems and a lot of innovations that go along with that, and a lot of industry firsts, a lot of industry records.
A lot of lessons learned along the way, a lot of figuring out how not to do things, basically all trying to make it as easy and simple as possible for the end user.
When designing and developing these systems and adding in all this technology, it can be an iterative process, and that's one thing that the organization has been good at is, our customers sometimes drive these products.
If it's a specific customer request, we'll involve them because we want to make sure if they had a certain idea in mind that we're meeting those expectations, and then we move it into full design, development, and we see it through to field trial testing and then commercialization.
The engineering department in Lafayette had created a great system. As a team, we worked together to craft the roadmaps and decide what we need when we need it.
I think that kind of drove such a large engineering presence in our organization, so that culture still exists, because that's really what engineers do. They like the R&D side of things, and they like to develop new things, and so that culture still lives on.
For decades, the industry stuck with mechanization and remote control. Mechanization significantly reduced manual handling and associated high risks of moving heavy machinery around the rig floor. Remote control enabled personnel to operate the equipment from outside the red zone, separating the operators completely from the immediate risks of the equipment. Tong pusher arm, Tong manipulator arm, and carriage technologies evolved and set the bar high for safe and efficient tubular running practices offshore, while manual equipment remained commonplace on land. Proprietary non-marking Tong systems remain unrivaled to this day, affording customers a high-value, low-risk solution for makeup of corrosion-resistant alloy tubulars. Cassette tongs mounted in rig iron roughnecks marked a new era for Tong technologies. Early signs that increased integration of TRS and rig equipment were to come. Wireless controls eventually became the norm, first in locations such as Norway and the UK, then years later across the globe where the customer drive for safety was at an all-time high. For years, the market seemed content with these technologies, but then things were about to change. The commitment to excellence in engineering that powers the new EXPRO opened the door for further advancements in the world of oil tools. A Tong that increases worker safety and greatly reduces human error, all with the touch of a button.
Digitalization and automation are two of the biggest buzzwords of the time. The iTong project, it really came back into life in 2017 when meeting with customers in Norway.
Over in Europe, they were very quick to adapt, so to some extent they were the ones pushing more automation than what was being done over here in the States.
Since the rigs already have some automation of components on their rig, everything about implementing it gets a little bit easier because everybody can sort of wrap their minds around some of these concepts.
The market was ready for it, clients were ready for it, technology was there to allow us to do it.
You know, there's always the fear of change in a lot of areas. And so with any technology, you have to, kind of overcome their fears and kind of prove, hey, what we've done for you is, we put our reputation on this, and, the many years we've been designing a lot of technologies, this is going to deliver what we say it delivers.
When we first started the iTong project, we would break it down into, kind of the big pieces of what are all the things that have to happen from the pipe being presented to the well bore until we're done with it and they can send it down hole.
More people are moving towards having computer systems performing various roles on a drilling rig. The iTong does just that. You're using machine learning technology and automated analysis happening in the background to decide whether connections are properly made up or not.
iTong is a fully autonomous Tong system that's been designed to complete an automated make-up or breakout of a tubing connection with a single push of a button.
We were in the Middle East at a conference, and we literally had iTong set up in Norway, thousands of miles away, and you can walk up, anybody can walk up and push a button and watch this Tong go, move to a well center, make up a connection, finds out of the connection, analyzes it, does everything, and backs to the park position. That gave me goosebumps.
What we are able to do is implement basically machine learning techniques on the 20 to 30 years worth of data that we have of these connection profiles and being able to accept and reject them. And basically using the machine learning techniques, allowing the machine learning algorithm to make the decision.
ICAM is our autonomous or intelligent connection integrity software. When you make up a connection, screw two joints of pipe together, we're recording what we call a torque turn graph. And the profile of that graph that we record, plotting torque and turns points, allows us to understand whether that connection will provide a gas-tight seal, whether it's done in accordance with the manufacturer's guidelines.
It's very modular and customizable to different rig designs that may incorporate various iron roughnecks or different things that we want to interface to. So it has a level of adaptability that can capture as many of these functions that were normally done.
We had very clear idea in our minds as to what we wanted to achieve with iTong in terms of the time savings, the efficiency, the performance of the system. We made sure that that was designed and delivered and tested onshore before we ever took the equipment offshore. It was really about optimizing and making sure that it did everything that we expected of it, that we handled challenges proficiently. Like, by virtue of an automated system, it should do the same thing every time. But I think the success of the system is in how challenges are addressed.
So obviously, what does that bring? That brings a reduction in personnel. It obviously brings a huge reduction in people having to be around what we call the red zone, which is around the center of the well, where the pipe is going into the well. It reduces all of that. That's typically a more high-risk zone that we like to avoid. So it reduces all of significance.
We were able to log into the rig system, and our engineer could remotely log into iTong and change parameters as we were going through those first jobs.
It really hits you the value that we did. What are we now capable of by having this technology? What value can we bring to the customer now that we have this technology? And we've mastered this. We've developed it. The engineering team did an outstanding job of accomplishments on this through a lot of hours of work. And it just all, for me, kind of came together and just kind of that wow moment, you know?
If you have a human operating a control panel, it takes a few seconds to go from this handle to this handle and things like that. When you're automating the process, the computer does that automatically. So you'll save a second here, a second there. Over the course of a well, those seconds add up to significant cost savings.
The operators, they have goals, they have objectives. You know, some are very, very grand. You know, they want to construct a well remotely from land that's way offshore, you know, and so of course they want to look at stuff like this, iTong. Other operators, they just want, like us, they want to reduce human exposure. They don't want to send anybody home anymore with injuries. They want to send them home in better health than before they left for the job. And so what do they need to do that? Well, certainly what we do in well construction fits right into that objective. And of course, when they see iTong now, they're like, well, this just checks a lot of boxes for us. You know, so the next question is, when can we have it, you know?
Our iTong is light years ahead of anything else that's on the market right now.
The iTong, simple but extraordinary. Its development and implementation is yet another shining example of how EXPRO will always step up to the challenge and overcome obstacles presented by a demanding and ever-changing industry.
It's really interesting to see where we've come from to where we are now.
Where the industry will go in the future with less and less people at the rig site, so less people exposed to helicopters and boat transfers, etc., and more people operating equipment from the onshore environment.
Going back to how Mr. Mosing's thought process was, he was always able to see stuff the industry maybe didn't even know they wanted. And he was always able to get out in front of the competition with technologies, push them into the market, and kind of change how we did things.
We're looking at wells and the trend of wells and the growing complexity, or in some areas they're looking to reduce cost. We're looking at the trends. We also look at the trends in rig designs because we're very dependent on the rig and operating on the rig. So we're looking at well architectures and the rig design. So we take those two big variables, and that's how we develop our innovation strategies.
Right now we're talking about the Tong, but there's other operations going on that, you know, maybe this same technology could be rolled into functioning other parts of running pipe, you know, into a well.
Not being tied to some preconceived notions of, you know, how to accomplish the task, you know. I think if everyone is on board and can understand the problem and understand where we need to be, sometimes the path getting there needs to change, and sort of being open to that.
We're always evaluating the entire operations from start to finish, from when the pipe leaves the mill to when we put it in the hole. All the different touch points. Is there a safety factor there? Safety risk?
Within the product line, we've got focus on our technology roadmaps and the technologies we need for the future. And one of those, probably the common element that goes across all of them, whether it's handling equipment, connection makeup equipment, is integrated controls. So with the Centrify control system, that is the future that will allow us to tie in operation of iTong with handling equipment, elevators, spiders, rig control systems, digital input from digital well plans, inputs from zone management systems on the rig, red zone management software, and really Centrify will be the hub where we tie together all these third-party interfaces with our machine control to further improve the safety and efficiency that we can provide at the rig site.
And so we've gone from very manual, hands-on, a lot of people in a hazardous area, to now we can operate the elevators, spiders, single joints, and Tong with a tablet.
That's really something that speaks to the innovation and the culture that we've had within the company from day one. It's always been a great sort of team environment, and the discipline within all the teams, the collaboration is what delivers the products that deliver what our clients expect.
Well, if you look at various market segments around the world, where it's in the Middle East or where it's ultra deep water, offshore Gulf of Mexico, those well trends are different and they have a lot of different nuances and all that. So we're breaking out technology roadmaps that look at things beyond iTong. We're looking at holistic, handling solutions that incorporate the same values that iTong brings to the well construction process. But we're doing it in various areas of the world. And so in various areas of the world, various market segments, different reservoirs, different well architectures, we have to think differently in a lot of aspects of how we approach these solutions.
And as we talk to customers, you can hear a pattern moving from manual intervention to remote operated to automated functionalities. So we methodically do that with every piece of equipment. We're always looking to, okay, what's the next step in evolution of this technology?
We're doing a lot of exciting things on the software side with machine learning and AI and those things.
As I'm able to travel around the world and visit a lot of our customers, that is one of the most common feedbacks that I get, is that, we can always count on y'all. We can always know that y'all are going to deliver for us. And so I think that's probably one of the biggest things that we see, or I see, I should say, as a differentiator as one EXPRO.
The story began with a husband and wife building a dream in their humble home. Across the pond with 3 friends working from what they called the broom cupboard. Though separated by many miles of land and sea, their passion for a safer and more efficient oil industry connected them. Matching ethics and aligned goals would see their businesses unite and thrive. Now, what once took 10 men takes 1. Environmental impact is reduced. Safety is improved in all conditions. Workers no longer need to enter the red zone. Optimal makeup parameters are achieved. Altogether, operational efficiency is improved and enhanced every day. iTong. Where do we go from here? The possibilities are endless. Just wait and see.